Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy is a vast complex novel that intertwines multiple storylines. Below, I'll give you the most detailed summary possible, highlighting all major events and character developments, while capturing the essence of the story's depth and intricacy. Detailed summary of Anna Karenina. Part 1. The novel begins with the famous line, "All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." This sets the stage for a story rich in familial and individual struggles. The opening introduces us to the Oblonsky family, where Prince Stepan Arkadyevich Oblonsky, Stiva, has been caught in an affair, and his wife Daria Alexandrovna, Dolly, is deeply upset. Their household is in turmoil, and Dolly is contemplating leaving Stiva. To mediate, Stiva invites his sister, Anna Arkadyevna Karenina, from St. Petersburg to help calm his wife. Anna Karenina arrives in Moscow and quickly brings peace to the Oblonsky household. She is a beautiful, charming, and vivacious woman married to the much older and serious Alexei Alexandrovich Karenin, a high-ranking government official. On her journey, she encounters the handsome and charismatic military officer Count Alexei Vronsky. There is an instant and powerful connection between Anna and Vronsky. At the same time, Konstantin Dmitrievich Levin, a country landowner, arrives in Moscow to propose to Kitty, Ekaterina Alexandrovna Shcherbatskaya, Dolly's younger sister. Kitty, however, is in love with Vronsky and rejects Levin's proposal. Vronsky, however, is fascinated by Anna after their encounter at the train station, where they share an unspoken electric connection. When Anna and Vronsky meet again at a ball, the attraction between them becomes undeniable. This deeply wounds Kitty, who realizes Vronsky does not love her, leaving her devastated. Part 2. Anna returns to St. Petersburg, and Vronsky follows her, ignoring Kitty, who falls ill due to the emotional trauma. Levin, heartbroken, retreats to his countryside estate, trying to bury himself in work. Meanwhile, Vronsky openly pursues Anna, who struggles with her feelings, torn between her duty to her husband and her passion for Vronsky. Despite her initial resistance, Anna succumbs to Vronsky's advances, and they begin a passionate love affair. Karenin, Anna's husband, notices her changed behavior and grows suspicious. He tries to ignore the signs, rationalizing that confronting Anna or questioning her would be improper. However, Anna becomes more openly enamored with Vronsky, leading to rumors and scandal in St. Petersburg society. In the meantime, Kitty is advised to go to a spa in Germany to recover from her heartbreak. There she meets Varenka, an unassuming and kind woman who helps Kitty regain her strength and sense of purpose. Kitty begins to realize that her love for Vronsky was shallow compared to what she truly desires in a partner. Part 3. The narrative shifts to Levin, who is dedicated to managing his estate and improving the condition of the peasants working for him. He is portrayed as a man of the land who finds solace in nature and agricultural work. Levin's internal struggles are philosophical, focusing on the meaning of life, the pursuit of happiness, and social justice. Levin's story contrasts with the artificiality of the high society circles of Anna and Vronsky. Despite his earlier rejection, Levin still longs for Kitty. After much reflection, he decides to try once again to win her affection. Anna and Vronsky's affair grows increasingly difficult. Anna becomes pregnant, and her mental state starts to deteriorate due to her divided loyalties. She confesses her infidelity to Karenin, who is initially devastated but decides not to seek a divorce to avoid scandal and preserve appearances. Part 4. Karenin's reaction to Anna's affair is cold and methodical. He refuses to grant her the freedom she desires, trapping Anna in a stifling situation. When Anna gives birth to Vronsky's child, she becomes critically ill. Believing she is dying, she begs Karenin for forgiveness, and in an emotional moment, he forgives both her and Vronsky. This unexpected gesture of grace deeply affects Vronsky, who, feeling overwhelmed by guilt and despair, attempts suicide but survives. After Anna's recovery, her relationship with Karenin becomes unbearable, and she eventually leaves him for Vronsky. The couple moves to Italy to escape the constraints of Russian society and to live freely. But their relationship soon begins to suffer under the pressures of isolation and their growing personal insecurities. Meanwhile, Levin and Kitty reconcile. Kitty realizes her true love lies with Levin, and they marry. Their relationship, though not without its difficulties, is portrayed as genuine and grounded in mutual respect. Levin finds great joy in his marriage, despite the occasional misunderstandings. Part 5. Anna and Vronsky return to Russia, where they face societal ostracism. Anna is not accepted in society, while Vronsky as a man still moves relatively freely. This inequality frustrates Anna, leading her to become increasingly paranoid and insecure. She grows jealous, fearing that Vronsky no longer loves her. Anna's desperation and dependence on Vronsky push their relationship to the brink. Levin, on the other hand, becomes a father and struggles with existential questions, particularly about faith. He is an atheist, but finds himself fascinated by the simple faith of the peasants around him. Levin eventually comes to a spiritual awakening, realizing that the meaning of life lies in living for others, which brings him a profound sense of peace. Levin, heartbroken, retreats to his countryside estate, trying to bury himself in work. Meanwhile, Vronsky openly pursues Anna, who struggles with her feelings, torn between her duty to her husband and her passion for Vronsky. Despite her initial resistance, Anna succumbs to Vronsky's advances, and they begin a passionate love affair. Karenin, Anna's husband, notices her changed behavior and grows suspicious. He tries to ignore the signs, rationalizing that confronting Anna or questioning her would be improper. However, Anna becomes more openly enamored with Vronsky, leading to rumors and scandal in St. Petersburg society. In the meantime, Kitty is advised to go to a spa in Germany to recover from her heartbreak. There she meets Varenka, an unassuming and kind woman who helps Kitty regain her strength and sense of purpose. Kitty begins to realize that her love for Vronsky was shallow compared to what she truly desires in a partner. Part 3. The narrative shifts to Levin, who is dedicated to managing his estate and improving the condition of the peasants working for him. He is portrayed as a man of the land, who finds solace in nature and agricultural work. Levin's internal struggles are philosophical, focusing on the meaning of life, the pursuit of happiness, and social justice. Levin's story contrasts with the artificiality of the high society circles of Anna and Vronsky. Despite his earlier rejection, Levin still longs for Kitty. After much reflection, he decides to try once again to win her affection. Anna and Vronsky's affair grows increasingly difficult. Anna becomes pregnant, and her mental state starts to deteriorate due to her divided loyalties. She confesses her infidelity to Karenin, who is initially devastated but decides not to seek a divorce to avoid scandal and preserve appearances. Part 4. Karenin's reaction to Anna's affair is cold and methodical. He refuses to grant her the freedom she desires, trapping Anna in a stifling situation. When Anna gives birth to Vronsky's child, she becomes critically ill. Believing she is dying, she begs Karenin for forgiveness, and in an emotional moment, he forgives both her and Vronsky. This unexpected gesture of grace deeply affects Vronsky, who, feeling overwhelmed by guilt and despair, attempts suicide but survives. After Anna's recovery, her relationship with Karenin becomes unbearable, and she eventually leaves him for Vronsky. The couple moves to Italy to escape the constraints of Russian society and to live freely, but their relationship soon begins to suffer under the pressures of isolation and their growing personal insecurities. Meanwhile, Levin and Kitty reconcile. Kitty realizes her true love lies with Levin, and they marry. Their relationship, though not without its difficulties, is portrayed as genuine and grounded in mutual respect. Levin finds great joy in his marriage, despite the occasional misunderstandings. Part 5. Anna and Vronsky return to Russia, where they face societal ostracism. Anna is not accepted in society, while Vronsky, as a man, still moves relatively freely. This inequality frustrates Anna, leading her to become increasingly paranoid and insecure. She grows jealous, fearing that Vronsky no longer loves her. Anna's desperation and dependence on Vronsky push their relationship to the brink. Levin, on the other hand, becomes a father and struggles with existential questions, particularly about faith. He is an atheist, but finds himself fascinated by the simple faith of the peasants around him. Levin eventually comes to a spiritual awakening, realizing that the meaning of life lies in living for others, which brings him a profound sense of peace. Part 6. As Anna's relationship with Vronsky continues to crumble, her mental state deteriorates under the weight of her social isolation and intense jealousy. She feels increasingly alienated from everyone around her, including Vronsky, who is growing weary of her emotional volatility. Their arguments become more frequent and vicious, and Anna feels a profound sense of despair and abandonment. Anna is also troubled by her separation from her young son, Seryoja, whom she deeply loves. She makes an attempt to visit him, despite Karenin's restrictions. Though she briefly reunites with her son, the visit is bittersweet and only underscores her loss and loneliness. The experience leaves her feeling even more disconnected from her past life and despairing about her future. Part 7. Anna becomes increasingly desperate. Her relationship with Vronsky is beyond repair, and she feels suffocated by her position outside society. She believes that Vronsky no longer loves her, and this thought becomes an obsession. Anna tries to manipulate Vronsky by threatening to leave him, but her attempts only drive him further away emotionally. In her confusion and desperation, Anna decides to confront Vronsky one last time. She writes him a letter and leaves for the train station. On her way, Anna's mental anguish reaches its peak, and she feels that there is no hope for reconciliation or peace. Overwhelmed by feelings of betrayal, loneliness, and hopelessness, Anna throws herself under a train, ending her life in a tragic and symbolic act of despair. At the same time, Levin is struggling with his own existential crisis. He has always been a skeptic, but his exposure to the simple faith of the peasants has led him to question his beliefs. The birth of his and Kitty's son has also brought new challenges and new joys, leading Levin to contemplate the deeper meaning of life and love. After a period of profound introspection, Levin finds a form of spiritual enlightenment. He realizes that true happiness lies in living for others and embracing a simple, honest life. Part 8. The final part of the novel wraps up the fates of the main characters. Vronsky, devastated by Anna's death, joins a volunteer regiment to fight in the Serbian-Turkish War, seeking some form of redemption or escape from his grief. His life has lost its purpose, and his decision to go to war is portrayed as an effort to numb the pain of his loss. Karenina takes responsibility for Anna and Vronsky's daughter Annie and lives a life marked by a kind of empty resignation. His position in society and sense of duty become his main focus, but there is no real joy or warmth in his existence. His relationship with his own son, Seryoja, remains strained as the young boy grows up in an environment filled with grief and complexity that he cannot fully understand. Levin's storyline concludes on a more hopeful note. After wrestling with his doubts and fears about the meaning of existence, Levin experiences a spiritual awakening. He comes to understand that faith is not necessarily found in religious doctrine, but in the small, everyday acts of love and kindness. This realization brings Levin a deep sense of peace, and he feels ready to live his life with purpose, embracing the beauty and simplicity of family life with Kitty and their son. Themes and analysis. Anna Karenina is a novel rich with themes that explore the complexities of human relationships, morality, and the search for meaning. Here are some of the central themes: love and passion versus social convention. The relationship between Anna and Vronsky serves as a powerful exploration of love that defies social conventions. Their affair brings both intense joy and inevitable ruin. Tolstoy contrasts their passionate, destructive love with the stable, nurturing relationship of Levin and Kitty, suggesting that true happiness is found in a balanced, committed partnership. Family and society. The contrast between happy and unhappy families is a central theme. Tolstoy presents different forms of family life: the Oblonsky's dysfunctional, forgiving arrangement, Karenin's sterile and formal household, and Levin's warm, if sometimes challenging, family dynamic. Through these depictions, Tolstoy critiques the rigid structures of 19th century Russian society, the role of women. Anna's story highlights the limited options available to women in her society. Her passionate love for Vronsky and her decision to leave her husband are seen as acts of rebellion against societal norms, but they ultimately lead to her social isolation and tragic end. Tolstoy illustrates the double standards for men and women regarding morality and freedom, faith and the meaning of life. Levin's spiritual journey serves as a counterpoint to Anna's tragic arc. While Anna's search for happiness leads to despair, Levin's quest for purpose eventually brings him peace. His internal struggle with faith and the meaning of life is one of the novel's most profound aspects, reflecting Tolstoy's own philosophical beliefs about religion, morality, and the human condition. Social hypocrisy. The novel explores the hypocrisy of the upper-class Russian society. While Vronsky is able to continue his life largely unscathed, Anna is ostracized and condemned, highlighting the different standards of judgment for men and women. Tolstoy paints a critical portrait of a society obsessed with appearances and superficial morality. Conclusion. Anna Karenina is a rich and deeply human novel that juxtaposes the doomed love affair of Anna and Vronsky with the more hopeful, though complex, relationship of Levin and Kitty. It explores the consequences of seeking personal happiness in defiance of social norms and the struggle to find meaning in a seemingly indifferent world. Anna's tragic demise serves as a stark warning about the dangers of passion unchecked by responsibility or acceptance of social realities, while Levin's story concludes with a message of hope, suggesting that meaning and fulfillment can be found in family, faith, and a life lived for others. Tolstoy's masterful character development, combined with his exploration of universal themes such as love, faith, and the role of society, makes Anna Karenina one of the greatest novels of all time, a deep and poignant reflection on the human experience. 1. Psychological depth and character complexity. Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina is often praised for the psychological depth of its characters. Tolstoy crafts incredibly nuanced portraits allowing readers to deeply understand their motivations, internal conflicts, and transformations. Anna Karenina herself is portrayed as a deeply complex character. Her initial charm and liveliness mask her deep vulnerability and longing for love and freedom. Her descent into despair is depicted with raw realism. Her jealousy, paranoia, and growing instability are powerfully conveyed, making her a tragic but very human figure. Tolstoy manages to evoke both empathy and frustration from the reader regarding Anna's choices. Alexei Karenin, Anna's husband, is equally complex. He initially appears as a cold, emotionless bureaucrat, but throughout the novel we see his internal battle between his pride, his deeply ingrained sense of duty, and his feelings of helplessness. He experiences profound emotions, especially when he attempts to forgive Anna during her illness, displaying a degree of grace that adds unexpected depth to his character. Vronsky is portrayed as an initially carefree, charming man who becomes increasingly burdened by his relationship with Anna. His sense of honor and duty clashes with his genuine affection for Anna, and eventually he grows resentful of her dependency on him. Vronsky's emotional arc reflects the societal pressures that even men faced, showing that love, status, and personal ambitions often collide in ways that bring suffering. Levin, arguably the character closest to Tolstoy himself, undergoes a significant transformation. His inner struggles with the meaning of life, happiness, and faith reveal a great deal about Tolstoy's own philosophical concerns. Levin is portrayed as earnest, searching for truth, and conflicted by his ideals versus the reality of the world around him. His eventual spiritual awakening and acceptance of a simple faith provide a contrast to the turmoil of Anna's story. 2. The role of society and its double standards. Tolstoy's critique of 19th century Russian society is one of the most significant aspects of Anna Karenina. He masterfully depicts the rigid and often hypocritical nature of high society, gender inequality. Anna faces severe societal judgment for her affair, while Vronsky largely escapes such condemnation. This double standard highlights how women were disproportionately punished for transgressing social norms, while men retained their status and freedom. Anna's suffering is exacerbated by her complete exclusion from society, which isolates her and contributes to her downward spiral. Public versus private morality. Karenin's obsession with appearances is another reflection of societal pressure. His reluctance to divorce Anna is driven more by a fear of scandal than by personal feelings. This is indicative of the importance placed on public reputation over genuine personal relationships. Tolstoy criticizes the superficial values that guide the behavior of the upper class, suggesting that their lives are more about maintaining facades than achieving true fulfillment. The dangers of social hypocrisy. The way in which society treats Anna contrasts with how it indulges Steva's infidelities. Steva Oblonsky is openly unfaithful to Dolly, yet he remains a well-liked and accepted figure. This acceptance underscores the hypocrisy inherent in the societal judgment of Anna. Anna, by seeking fulfillment outside of her marriage, is labeled as immoral and is ultimately driven to her tragic fate, whereas Steva's transgressions are merely viewed as a weakness to be tolerated. 3. Themes of faith, redemption, and the search for meaning. Another significant aspect of the novel is its exploration of faith and the search for meaning in life. This theme is primarily portrayed through Levin's philosophical struggles. Throughout the novel, Levin searches for the meaning of existence. He grapples with questions about mortality, religion, and purpose, which reflects Tolstoy's own existential inquiries. Levin's philosophical journey represents the intellectual struggle of the Russian intelligentsia of Tolstoy's time, torn between rationalism, skepticism, and the yearning for a deeper spiritual truth. The contrast with Anna, Levin's ultimate spiritual awakening, contrasts with Anna's tragic end. While Anna turns increasingly inward and succumbs to despair, Levin finds solace in turning outward, to his family, his land, and ultimately to a simple, humble faith. Tolstoy seems to suggest that a life lived with purpose and a sense of connection to others, rather than a life driven solely by passion, leads to true fulfillment. Redemption and the importance of family. Levin's realization about living for others highlights Tolstoy's belief in the power of family and selflessness as sources of redemption. Kitty serves as a stabilizing force for Levin, and their relationship stands in stark contrast to Anna and Vronsky's tumultuous romance. Levin's journey toward a meaningful life and his commitment to Kitty provide a hopeful counterpoint to the bleakness of Anna's story. 4. Agricultural life versus urban sophistication. Tolstoy contrasts the natural, honest life of the countryside with the superficiality of city life. Levin and the land. Levin's passion for agricultural reform and his deep connection to his estate symbolize a return to a simpler, more authentic way of living. His interactions with the peasants and his desire to improve their lives reflect his belief in the inherent value of hard work and connection to the land. The countryside is depicted as a place of purity, where Levin can escape the false pretenses of urban society and find true contentment. Urban corruption. In contrast, the urban settings, Moscow and St. Petersburg, are portrayed as places where appearances and social status dominate. In these environments, genuine emotions are often sacrificed for social success. Anna's and Vronsky's affair flourishes in this environment of luxury and leisure, but it ultimately becomes a source of despair and destruction. Tolstoy contrasts this with Levin's grounded rural life, implying that true happiness is more likely to be found away from the artificial pressures of urban society. 5. The use of symbolism. Tolstoy uses various symbols throughout the novel to emphasize themes and foreshadow events. Trains. Trains are a recurring symbol associated with Anna's fate. From the beginning of the novel, when Anna first meets Vronsky at the train station, there is a sense of inevitability about her path. Trains symbolize the unstoppable force of her passion and the destructive consequences of her decisions. Ultimately, her death beneath a train represents both her inability to escape her circumstances and the tragic culmination of her choices. Levin's scythe. Levin's work in the fields, particularly his use of the scythe, symbolizes his connection to the natural order of things. The scythe represents honest labor, simplicity, and Levin's attempt to find balance and peace through physical work. This stands in stark contrast to the idle, indulgent lives of the urban elite, further highlighting Tolstoy's idealization of rural life. Conclusion. Tolstoy's moral and philosophical vision. Anna Karenina is much more than a tragic love story. Through Anna, Tolstoy presents the dangers of seeking self-fulfillment in isolation from social responsibilities. In Levin's journey, Tolstoy finds hope in humility, connection to the land, and living for others. The novel's broad scope, rich character development, and exploration of themes such as love, faith, and morality make Anna Karenina a timeless reflection on the complexities of life and the search for happiness. Thank you for listening and thank you for being with us. Subscribe to our channel.